Welcome to Trial by Wine. We take a closer look at crimes that highlight how fascinating humans can be. Schmitty, Swanee and Clarky visit crimes and run them through their jury of three, debating both sides of the case to agree an appropriate, if totally fictitious, sentence. Please be advised, Trial by Wine may include explicit or disturbing content and will include drunken rambling. Listener discretion is advised. Absolutely, yeah. All right, how are we?
Great. Yay, great. Do you know what? I like Friday afternoon recordings.
Do you?
Just kind of feels right.
For our listeners, Swanee's overseas. How dare she?
We're very jealous. Yes.
You've got no right to be jealous, people who travel, for half of the year. I, on the other hand, who hasn't travelled anywhere for 6 years, have a right to be jealous.
Yeah, but you've got a holiday booked.
I know, right? Eventually.
Mine's like 12 months away and it's not even booked yet. Far out.
Yeah, so Swanee's overseas, and so it's just Clarky and Woo and I, but we thought, why not continue, hey? Why not have some japes on a Friday night? And so that's where we're at. So I suppose I'll introduce us. My name's Schmitty.
I'm Clarky, and together we are Trial by Wine. Mine is Swanee. There was an awkward pause where I was half expecting her to say I'm Swanee, but
I know.
Not today.
No, that's what Wooey's onesie says, or is it a onesie?
It does.
Yeah.
These are, they are.
They'll be keeping you nice and toasty and warm. Mine's in the wash at the moment, yeah.
Oh. How often do you wash it?
This one probably should have gone in the wash at the start of the week, but then I was like, no, I need it for rehearsals because Kyneton is the coldest place on the planet. And then I take it also for dog walking. And you know how they've got a massive pocket, one single pocket at the front? I put my the poo bags and some dog treats in there when I walk the dog.
Oh, right.
But all the other dogs at the dog park have worked out that I've always got treats. So they come up and they stick their noses in the big pocket.
Oh.
Yeah, I know, a bit naughty. So I came back the other day and it was covered in dog slag and whatever, and I thought it really should go in the wash, but I've still got a few more days that I need to use it, and that's why it went in today when I do, because I knew I wasn't going to go to the dog park, nor did I need it for Kyneton.
So it's funny because the reason I ask is we just got these recently, and the first time yesterday I spilt a bit of pie on mine, so I gave it a quick wipe down.
The wipe down does the job.
It did well, but so I was thinking, maybe it's like a wash at the end of winter kind of thing, and then hang it in the cupboard until next time.
That's even worse than I would be. I might once a week.
But I don't wear mine out of the house, and I certainly don't wear it to the dog park, and I don't put dog treats in it, and I do wear clothes under mine, unlike you.
I wear clothes. No, I wear clothes. No, that's Tony.
We've heard about the...
That's Tony. That was Tony with his ball sack out.
I took away from that you both do that. So
no, I don't.
May have been telling lies about you during the week.
I wear tracksuit pants and a t-shirt under mine. But no, he's the nut. Actually, I was thinking about that. I should have called it what he calls it. His corduroy satchel was out.
Oh, dear.
Funny.
What an image.
Corduroy satchel. It's a weird thing to wear by itself because to me you wear it for that extra bit of warmth.
Absolutely.
And I guess that's why he's wearing it, but I feel like I would put some other clothes on before.
Or at least a pair of pajama bottoms or something. Yeah. Or jocks. Yeah, I know. Crazy idea. Anyway, what are you drinking?
I'm glad you asked. We are having a Feathertop 2021 Sangiovese. So we get these delivered every now and then, and because we've been drinking a lot of the wine that we make or a lot of the wine that's in the wine fridge, we had a big stash of our Feathertops building up, so we've just been going crazy on them lately, and it's
very nice.
They're dying a fast death.
I'm drinking because it's very cold, and it's the only thing I could grab easily. And we are old Mother Hubbard in the cupboard. There's almost nothing in this house, but I did find, and that's therefore I don't know where this came from, but it's. And I've never heard of it before. So far, it's okay, and it's 14% alcohol, so it'll fuck me up. But
it'll fuck you up. Lucky we're only doing one story.
Absolutely, yeah. But it's actually not too bad. All right,
nice.
Got a story?
I do have, yes. Rightio. So, somewhat sadly, today is the last story
Oh, sad for
of
who?
our round the world trips.
I find that hard to believe. I mean, it's tiresome for some of us, but I'm sure you could go around the world again. There's so many crimes in all the places you've been
I
to.
absolutely could, yes,
Yeah.
and possibly will, but this is the last one from the last destination before we came home. And so this one is a story from the Maldives.
Beautiful.
So on the way home from our Sri Lankan trip, we were lucky enough to go via the Maldives. We had 3 nights in an all-inclusive resort.
Is it Maldives or Maldives? I always thought
It's
it was
probably Maldives. Yeah, it probably is Maldives, but you know,
I don't know.
I was only there for 3 nights. Didn't learn the language.
Fair enough.
I think there was a lot of conversation while we were over there about calling it Maldives, and we got into the habit of calling it Maldives and then
forgot all about it.
Like, you know, when you learn to say hello in 5 different languages and
Then
can't
you don't
remember
need
which
it
one to
anymore.
use when, and then, it's all gone again.
Yeah.
Nice. The resort we had was on a small island with beautiful white sand, stunning beaches, and ocean. So much ocean. It's really, really lovely. We could walk off the sand and go snorkeling with a large variety of fish, including rather large nurse sharks. Now, whilst
Did you
they
say
generally...
a large variety of fish?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, what I heard was large fried fish.
Ooh.
Well, I thought, what, they pre-fry them and put them in the ocean?
Yeah.
How weird.
They just get chucked off the overwater bungalows when people can't eat anymore.
I'm over this fish, and you don't even like seafood. Yeah.
No, correct. So we would have thrown ours back. And so we also, there are a large number of nurse sharks.
Mm.
Now, whilst nurse sharks are not generally known to attack humans, I did read somewhere that they have done so, and they have a nasty bite from their vice-like jaws, not like vice-like jaws. So that sounds very unpleasant. And by the way, for anyone who might be...
Any shark bite is unpleasant, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, yes, I couldn't talk from experience, thank God, but I think you're right. And before, our multitude of listeners type in and say grey nurse sharks are very often bitey, these ones were nurse sharks, not grey nurse sharks, which apparently there is a difference. If there's not, then they can email me in and tell me that.
Okay, at trialbywine@gmail.com.
So anyway, we didn't get attacked, and we loved the snorkeling and the wine and the food and the people. The Maldives is definitely a tropical paradise. It was really quite lovely because it was all inclusive. You could just go more or less any time of day and get a drink or a snack or a meal or, all kinds of stuff.
That sounds fantastic. Sounds like what I need right now. I did see a TikTok thing the other day, and it was a woman who says something about, it was one of those point of views, POVs, about what you expect from the Maldives versus what you get. And they had all these, as you described, the incredibly white sands and the incredible blue sea, and you could see that you could just jump off where you were staying into this incredible sea and swim and everything lovely. And then we get what this poor woman actually got, which was a hurricane by the look of it.
No. Oh, that would be really bad. Yeah, we had the travel guide kind of thing, beautiful sunsets and still conditions, and it was
perfect.
Really lovely.
Yeah.
Have you been? I figure for you, not Schmitty.
No, I haven't.
For our listeners, have you been? Do you want to go? Have you ever heard of crime in the Maldives?
No, I haven't.
I mean, being a tropical paradise, you may think that there's not
much
in the way of crime. Maybe a few drunken tourists behaving badly. Exactly that. Perhaps a scrag fight at the Sunset Bar. Or Dave and Duggo slugging it out on the way home to their overwater bungalow because Dave stared at Duggo's chick Sharon for too long.
Oh, God.
Well, I did try a bit of trial by wine grade research, scratched the surface slightly, and I didn't like what I smelled. So let me tell you about what I found. It may just change your mind about holidaying in the Maldives. Firstly, though, a quote from Nushin Rashid in 2017, co-creator of the only website documenting murder in the Maldives. Now, that's a red flag. Who said... There are no official data or crime statistics available to the public, so I have to use information from open sources such as online newspapers, she
I would have thought newspapers, yeah.
This means there is always the likelihood of errors in reporting and there is no way of verifying the information.
Every story that we
Yeah, exactly right. Welcome to Trial by Wine.
Newspapers, yeah.
The Maldives Independent estimates that there have been 32 murders in the country between 2012 and 2017. So obviously not current stats, but in 5 years. So what, 6 a year kind of?
Yeah.
Sounds okay.
Not
But
really. I was going to say, what's the population?
Well, I didn't Googleize that bit.
Okay.
Because it's actually quite hidden. So statistics on murder convictions and arrest rates are not publicly available, and authorities, including the police, fail to provide them despite repeated requests. Murder is not even included in the police website's crime statistics page.
It just doesn't happen.
Which has data going back to 2008. Well,
This
I
is
think
a bit like serial killers in Soviet Russia.
In Soviet Union, yeah, that's right. It seems like there's a paradise reputation that needs to be protected.
Oh, absolutely. Tourism would be, I'm assuming, the biggest economic driver for them.
Murder doesn't go well with tourism.
No, tourists are not keen on a murder hotspot.
Correct. At one point, killer Abdullah Zuhair.
A killer or our killer?
A killer.
Right.
A killer.
Just not a killer, not the killer.
not the killer and not our killer, who we, like our hitman.
That's right.
Was reportedly freed after serving 11 years of a life sentence. At the time, police were unable to say why he was released, and there was also no comment from Maldives Correctional Service about his release.
And he was there for murder? So he was our killer?
He was murdered. Yeah, sorry, he was murdered. He was there for murder. He was committed to a life sentence, and he served 11 years and then was released, and no one would say why.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell you a couple of stories, and then perhaps we can discuss how highly the Maldives rates on your bucket list.
Okay.
And whether it's gone down. Where would you say it is at the moment? I mean, you just said it sounds like where you need to go now, so I reckon we could just about put it at number one.
Well, I thought about many, many years ago I was going to go there because a friend of mine was really into snorkeling and stuff, and we thought about going. But when I say many, many years ago, I would say it was probably around the time of September 11. And the Maldives is a Muslim country, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that sort of put us off at the time just because we were I was certainly a bit nervous about tensions between Muslims and non-Muslims.
Yeah.
But I must admit, it's certainly not, when you say bucket list, I think Alaska is higher for me on places I would really like to see before I die. But, Maldives would be nice to kind of go there, as you did, like a 3-day inclusive on my way
on your way
somewhere.
back from somewhere. It's kind of nice.
Sorry, Maldives, but because also I'm not a big beach holiday person.
Oh.
No, I prefer rivers over oceans. I like inland activity, not on, mainly because everything in the ocean's trying to kill you. Yeah, not a fan.
Less sharks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to the Mediterranean, that's not the case.
Yeah,
but,
even then I'm still uncomfortable, but I give it a go. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, funny about the sea. It's because I was born in 1974 and I saw Jaws in my formative years. And after that, it was like all bets are off. The ocean is terrible. Don't go there.
You're right.
Have you done your sources?
No. I've got the Maldives Independent, Minivan News. I think I actually did Wikipedia as well, and I haven't quoted that, but let's just chuck that in there as well, if you're okay with that.
Yep.
And so the first story I'm going to tell you is that of Mahfouz Saeed, who was part of the legal team representing former President Mohammed Nasheed when he was stabbed in the head. The attack took place in the capital in broad daylight.
Jeepers,
in the head.
Creepers.
I know, right? I mean, I don't know that would be my spot to aim to stab someone because of that thing called the skull.
The skull. And the attacker was tall, and he just
maybe it's the only place he could reach.
Couldn't get down enough.
Stabbing down at his knees. Yeah.
Oh, naughty.
So his assailants were not wearing masks. And a dive knife was lodged 3 inches deep in his skull.
Oh, yeah.
That's
God.
that's a lot, isn't it?
Oh,
You know those
what?
when you used to get show bags and they had that thing with a part of a knife on
Yeah,
one side you had and part of the knife on the other side, and then the band holding it across
like
at the
a
top.
headband with a fake knife on either side.
Yeah,
Yes, I
yeah,
know
yeah.
exactly what you mean. Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
that's
that's
that's as
gross.
close as you want to get to a knife being lodged in your skull, isn't it? Like,
Yes, not at
God.
all. Just a joke one. That is as close as you want to get. Yep.
Correct, yeah. So anyway, Mahfouz survived the near-fatal attack and 3 men were charged, one with his attempted murder and the others as accessories. Police are yet to find the 4th suspect, who has been the target of a manhunt since October 2015. In early November of a particular year... Oh, goodness me. I think in 2015. So this happened in September, 4th of September 2015. So in early November, Maldivian media reported the 3 stabbing suspects were released. The Maldives Independent reported that they walked free because the Prosecutor General's office failed to bring anonymous witnesses to the hearing. The witnesses refused to give evidence after they claimed their anonymity had been compromised. Mahfouz said, "I do not feel safe here, obviously. Ever since the attack, I've been overly suspicious. I have to think carefully and be prepared, even if 2 random people are staring at me on the street."
Fair enough. Massive trauma.
I would be.
Never going to feel safe again. Yeah.
I mean, he said he's been overly suspicious. I would be fucking paranoid. He goes on to say, "I think that we are closer to getting arrested and jailed for talking about the issues of the justice system rather than the suspects for violent crime."
Oh, that's not good.
Needless to say, he's lost faith in the law. That's the first story. Story number 2. 5 years after a journalist who went missing in the Maldives in 2014, investigators have said he was killed by a local affiliate of Al-Qaeda, publicly acknowledging for the first time the hardline group's existence and efforts to silence liberal voices in the Indian Ocean island nation. Ahmed, or Ahmed, depending on, I guess, how you'd like to pronounce it. Ahmed Rilwan Abdullah, whose disappearance on 2014 shook the Maldives, was forced into a car at knife point outside his home on the island of Hulhumali and taken to a boat out at sea where he was killed, said Husnu Suud, the head of the presidential commission set up to investigate the case.
Oh, God.
Speaking to reporters, he said the commission's 9-month investigation found that then President Abdullah Yameen tried to divert the focus of the police investigation while his former deputy tried to obstruct justice in the case. That's a big statement, isn't it?
So we're just not going to let this get properly prosecuted. There's a nice rug over there. Can I just sweep that under there?
Yeah. It looks like a bit of a hill, what's under there, but,
Doesn't
we'll
matter.
just sweep a bit more under there.
Stamp down on it when you're on top, yeah. Flatten it out a bit.
To say the president and his deputy are obstructing justice,
God,
it's a lot. I mean, we just think our candidates for Prime Minister are muppets and incompetent, but they're not doing this shit too much.
That you know of.
Well, also that I know of, yes. So then, Yamin Rashid, a prominent blogger and internet activist who was campaigning for information about his missing friend Rilwan, was stabbed to death in April 2017 in the stairway of his apartment building in Mali.
Oh, something really wrong here.
And Lucky Swanee's not here.
I'm telling you, it stinks.
Yeah, it's like a scratch and sniff, but it stinks of... corruption or something. I don't know what that smells like, but yeah.
If your body is corrupt, then it will smell like it's rotting. So maybe just the smell of rotting is the smell of corruption.
Is that fact?
Yes, because corruption is a word for rotting.
Okay, very good. Well, that should make it easy to find corrupt politicians.
Just sniff them out.
He had 35 stab wounds, and this is why I say it's lucky that Swanee's not here. His throat was slit and part of his skull was missing. Like, that's violent.
That is vicious.
I mean, 35 stab wounds is violent, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no, it is. But then to
the point where part of your skull's missing...
It's just, frenzied almost.
Yeah. Despite the promise of open hearings, the Prosecutor General's office continues to request closed sessions against the 7 suspects charged with his killing.
7? So 7 people stabbed him? No wonder he was such a mess.
7 suspects. Yeah, 5 each.
Jesus.
And you get a stab, and you get a stab.
It's like, is it Murder on the Orient Express? Sorry, spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen films or read the book by Agatha Christie, but everyone on the train kills the person who died. So you can't implicate, one or the other because they all go in and they all stab him. He's probably already dead, but they all stab him so that no one can say he did it or you did it because we all did it. Anyway.
Can't you just charge them all?
Yeah, but I can't remember. He must have been a horrible person. I can't remember entirely because Inspector, it's not Clouseau. What's his name? Is it Clouseau?
I would have said
Clouseau,
but that's Pink Panther.
Well, I'm thinking Pink Panther, yeah. Anyway, he does not arrest them. So I have a feeling that...
He didn't like him?
I think the victim was horrendous, and so he just thought it wasn't worth it.
Maybe he did his hard yards in Mali and he's well aware of how to...
Yeah, it's Inspector Poirot. Sorry, not Clouseau.
Poirot. Right. Yamin's family have questioned the ability of police to conduct an impartial and credible investigation because of the way they have handled Rilwan's case, and that of the near-fatal attack on another blogger, Hilath Rashid, who had his throat slashed outside his apartment door.
Don't blog in the Maldives is what I'm going to say.
Right. No arrests were made, even though the police claimed to have access to CCTV footage near his home. How good is it that we didn't decide to do an episode of Trial by Wine from the Maldives?
Oh, my God. I know. Well, podcast, is it the same
could have
as
ended up as grey nurse food. If I'm talking about corruption in the Maldives.
I suppose if you were doing that, yes, you would be in a great deal of trouble.
Burn.
That's what you would have been feeling when you're in the Maldives. You would have been going, "Oh my God, what's that noise? What's that noise?" That's them.
Correct. Those sharks would have been like 5 meters long, wouldn't they? Is that exaggerating? Maybe 4? No. They were huge.
That is massive.
They were huge. Maybe not 5.
Show some video one day.
Maybe 4.
It's still big.
Maybe 3.5. They were substantially bigger than
3
a person.
3 foot long. 3 foot long. Massive.
Just bigger than a guppy. So now I'm going to tell you the story behind 2 headlines. The first headline is headline 1, funnily enough. Police operation underway to curb gang violence. And this is from the Maldives Independent in 2018. A police operation to curb gang violence in the capital is underway after the fatal stabbing of a 14-year-old boy last week.
Oh, no.
You don't have to be a blogger. Police officers have been stopping and searching suspects and raiding known gang hangouts in Mali. We will not give opportunity for those attempting to make Mali and Adu City appear dangerous to normalise criminal activity, police warned in a statement. We will not let
anyone think that there's a problem here because if we do, then we won't get all the other people's money.
They won't come, and there's a lot of money. Exactly right. Briefing the press on Thursday, Superintendent Ahmed Shifan denied allegations that the recent spike in gang violence was linked to politicians. In our investigation until now, I can assure you we found no political participation. We have not noticed this is done on orders by politicians. These are false stories.
Methinks he doth protest too much.
Right? It's an odd thing to even be saying if there's no fire at the base of that smoke.
Correct.
In the wake of the 14-year-old's murder, President-elect Ibrahim Mohamed Solih tweeted, "Dangerous gang fights have increased across Maldives. The murder of children in the streets of Mali shows how this has gotten out of hand. God willing, we will work together and make Maldives a peaceful place."
Did you go to Mali when you were there? Like you flew in and then went to
you fly into Mali and then you go out from there.
Because I was just having a look and it's 8.3 kilometres long, but it has a population of 212,000 people.
I mean, that's too many. No wonder they're stabbing each other.
No wonder they're stabbing each other, yeah. I mean, people are living on each other. That is a tiny space for all those people. Of course you're going to have significant crime in a place like that. Yeah.
So it's funny you say that. I did a post on our social media today, and it's a picture of a woman on, I think, what is a plane, and there's 3 seats across, and she's sitting in the middle, and she's reading a book that says, it's titled, "Stabbing Strangers Who Talk to You." And then the caption is, Wendy gets privacy by creating her own book covers. And so that's a person in a row of 3 seats who's thinking about stabbing people. So 200,000 people in 8-kilometre long island.
Crazy, isn't it?
It'd be like fucking Edward Scissorhands.
And I get the feeling it's not much more than 8 kilometres wide either. So it's not like it's, 8 kilometres long and 500 kilometres wide. It's a very small place. Yeah.
It's not round, and long is usually the largest dimension. So,
because you and I thought I'll just look at it, and then I thought, my God, that is incredibly overpopulated.
Well, it's incredibly crowded anyway. One doesn't like to judge.
Who? Since when?
It's a good point. It's a very good point. One fucking loves it, especially with a wine in their hand and from the safety of their own house.
The point of this podcast is that we judge. Doesn't mean we're right. We just judge. Yeah.
Yeah. To quote a phrase that has no application in my life, one doesn't like to judge.
You suddenly get all sensitive for no apparent reason.
I'm now going to go on to my last story, my last headline. Suspect accused of stuffing murdered girlfriend into suitcase.
No.
Acquitted.
No. Oh, of course.
Yeah, it's a hard yes. The criminal court has acquitted the chief suspect in the murder of Mariam Shireen in January 2010, citing insufficient evidence. It's a legitimate reason to not charge someone, I'll give you that. But let me tell you a little bit about what did happen, or what they do know. Mohammed Najjar was accused of killing his girlfriend, stuffing her body into a suitcase and dumping it at a construction site in Mali. Almost 5 years after the murder trial began, Chief Judge Abdullah Mohammed said in the verdict delivered today that in addition to Najjar denying the charges, the state had failed to submit conclusive evidence. The 3 doctors who examined Shireen's body had not been able to determine the cause of death, he noted. I mean, you could imagine that if she stuffed into a suitcase, there's probably at least one obvious thing that would have killed her.
Of course, like blunt force
Whether
trauma
she was
or
dead
suffocation.
before that.
Remember the old hyoid bone or whatever it's called?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
There's lots of ways a actual forensic pathologist could tell how someone's killed. Unless you've gone to soup, like there was nothing left. But even striations on the bone.
Did you say soap or soup?
Soup, like a decomposed.
What was her name?
Where she was all mush.
She and Chuli?
Yeah, she made soap out of people. But do you know about soapification? Do you know about that? It's a naturally occurring thing that happens.
I feel like you're going to tell me and I'm not sure I want you to.
When people die, sometimes, not always, but often like if their body's kept in water or something, the flesh actually and skin soapifies. So it literally turns to something that is it's like soap. I wouldn't wash myself with it, just saying.
And is it fragrant like corruption or fragrant like
like
poppy
corruption.
fields?
It smells like corruption. Corruption by Calvin Klein.
Try our new corruption-scented shampoo.
It's right up there with using your own book covers to get privacy. That corruption scented
correct.
people away, no problem.
Yeah, wear that on a flight. So the Chief Judge also said there was no written evidence of the doctor's suggestion to conduct a post-mortem. So they couldn't tell the cause of death because there was no post-mortem conducted and there was no written evidence suggesting that they'd wanted to do one.
Why would anyone want to find out how a victim of homicide was killed? Why would we?
Wouldn't that just be standard process?
Oh, but she's dead. I mean, what can we do about it? It's not like we can bring her back. Isn't that just horrendous? I'm joking, but I'm sure that wasn't the position, but it is terrible. And it's,
so bad.
What do you call it? It's negligent in your responsibilities and your role, I would have thought.
Smells like Decore's new shampoo. None of the prosecution's witnesses had testified to Najjar committing any act to murder Shireen, the verdict stated. But let me tell you some of the evidence so that you can decide.
Okay, before you do, though, I was just thinking this through as a marketing perspective. You've got decore, right, or decore. So corruption shouldn't be one word. It should be like corruption or something.
Decorruption.
Decorruption. There you go. Yeah, it's got to be something like that. I didn't feel we had nailed that branding quite right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think we have now. Because that could then mean the corruption, corruption.
That's right. Yeah.
Or decore option. I'm not sure what option would mean, but makes you feel good
Get
for the
that
rest of the
option.
day. Shut option.
Shit and corruption.
So the 30-year-old woman's body was found hidden under a pile of sandbags in a construction site on the 3rd of January 2010 by a Bangladeshi worker. Police said the body was found 36 hours after her death. Najjar was accused of taking the suitcase to the vacant building in a taxi. The driver of the taxi that Najjar took also testified at the trial. Police showed CCTV footage from January the 2nd of Najjar dragging the suitcase and testified that DNA samples from the bag matched Shireen's. So they've got footage of him dragging the suitcase. So remember, there's no evidence. The couple were living together in an apartment in Mafanu Kurahage. Jeepers. I bet there's a better way of saying that.
Don't ask me, though.
Witnesses also testified to hearing Najjar threatening to kill Shireen and told the court that she was last seen entering the apartment on the night she went missing.
Occam's razor, hey?
Prosecutors told the court that Najjar had come out several times, locking the door each time, and was later seen leaving with a suitcase. In a statement that reeks of cover-up or decorruption, Judge Abdullah... Judge Abdullah said that the taxi driver had only said that he transported Najjar with a heavy suitcase and that he smelled a foul scent only after Najjar had left the cab. He's not there anymore, so it can't be him that smells bad,
even though he's
when he got out of the car. Oh, maybe it took a little bit for his scent to waft.
Well, I think, you'd be a bit stressed in that scenario, right? And if you're stressed, it could upset your digestion. He gets out of the car, he drops his guts just as he gets out of the car, grabs his suitcase, leaves. The taxi driver quite rightly says, I only noticed a foul smell after he left.
Once he left. And it reeked of decorruption. It's so bad. Anyway, so the chief judge has been accused by the opposition of corruption and bribery. Former President...
I just wonder how badly her body would have smelled only 36 hours after her death. So somewhere between her death and they found her. That was 36 hours, you said.
But also, so he's only killed her... So he got the taxi the day before she was found. So he's only killed her, let's say probably in the last 12 hours
12
tops,
hours. And that's what I'm saying. How badly could she have been smelling in a 12-hour period? So I reckon he did fart, is my point.
I mean, it's a very good point that you're making. To me, the important bit is that the taxi driver said that he transported Najjar with a heavy suitcase, which I think is fairly important given she was found in a suitcase.
Debating the fact that Najjar killed Shireen and transported her body with a taxi driver who's inadvertently complicit. I'm just questioning the smell.
But the smell, he did smell a foul scent, but it was only after he'd left the cab. So, maybe he farted and smelled a foul scent himself.
That's my point. Yeah.
But I feel like he wouldn't give that as evidence.
If you dealt it, you smelt it. Is that what the defence said? That's
if you smelt it, you dealt it, I think is what you're trying to say. The chief judge has been accused by the opposition of corruption and bribery. Former President Mohammed Nasheed, who was found guilty of terrorism charges over the military's detention of Judge Abdullah in January 2012, had said the judge was suspected of involvement... Right, blogging and working in the legal system.
Working in the legal system. You get a bloody 3 inches of a knife in your head as a lawyer.
Correct. So he said that the judge was suspected of involvement in a contract killing. So if Najjar had been found guilty, he would have faced the death penalty.
Was that
Shireen's
a killer? Did a killer do it?
The contract killing.
Yeah, and did 11 years for it and then got released for no apparent reason.
Aha. Yeah, well, I mean, you're assuming there's only one of these such people.
Oh, I was just tying back into that first
Yeah.
story.
I mean,
a killer did it. I mean, a killer did it. Maybe just not that a killer. Yeah.
So Shireen's heirs had told the court that they had no objection to Najjar's execution if he was found guilty. Najjar had previously been sentenced to 10 years imprisonment on drug abuse charges in January 2009. Sadly, despite the vigils, headlines and international condemnation, there is rarely progress in cases where people are targeted for their stance on religion, politics or the judiciary in the Maldives. So there is little hope for other families seeking answers and justice. Their loved ones have been killed and already forgotten about because murder in the Maldives
doesn't exist.
murder in the Maldives is no longer a shock.
It
There
just
will be
doesn't
no
exist.
Twitter storm, or should that read X storm nowadays, for the dozens of victims who have failed even to register as police statistics. So it's a really fascinating thing whereby there seems to be this whole, I guess, in the main island, which is Mali, or the capital,
Which, by the way,
sorry.
you know, you said I was judging earlier when I felt it was a bit overpopulated. There's 1,700 plus, but it's 17 something, right? 100 people per square kilometre in Mali.
Yeah.
And to put that into context, in Melbourne, Greater Melbourne, it is 500 per square kilometre.
Yeah, but Melbourne certainly used to be one of the most spread out, like one of the capitals with the biggest footprint in the world. It's probably changed a bit now, but...
Absolutely. That's all I'm saying is my point of reference is we live in a place with lots of space.
Yeah, we do.
But I really wouldn't be happy living with 1,700 people in my kilometre, in my square kilometre.
You would fancy dress as Edward Scissorhands for sure.
I would wear eau de corruption.
That concludes my story on the Maldives and indeed my series of crimes from places we have visited. I hope you've enjoyed the adventures. And now it's time to share your thoughts on the Maldives. Do you still want to visit?
Yeah, I don't think it's like you didn't actually talk about lots of tourist crimes, right? So where tourists get injured or hurt. Therefore, I think it's a perfectly fine place to go. It's like when I used to live in the UK. And Mum used to get a bit upset because she'd read about this person murdered, that person murdered. And I said to her, yeah, look, generally you're murdered by someone you know, right? Statistically, it's usually a intimate partner or someone that you are around a lot. So if I don't have any friends and I don't know anyone, I'm safe as houses, right? And I was for many years in the UK, sticking to that rule, not being too friendly. But yeah, anyway, I'm not put off the Maldives per se as a tourist. If you'd given me 20 stories about how dangerous it is for tourists, then I'd be like having second thoughts. But as I said, it's not number one on my bucket list.
Yeah, right. Yes,
Sorry,
that's a good point.
Sorry, tourism Maldives.
No, I think you should. You should apologise for that not being
number one on my bucket list. Yeah,
but you did just say you'd still go because tourists aren't dying.
Yeah, and it looks like a nice place.
You're not going to go there as a local, so you're safe.
That's what I think. Yeah, I could be wrong.
Yeah. I think the trick is to get whisked away to your all-inclusive resort and then go back and off you go on your way.
Yeah, I reckon you're right. Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of crime on the island, was there? I mean, you could, we'd just leave our phones and stuff while we went snorkeling on the sand because, everyone's doing it.
But I would think...
Island, we were on.
So, yeah, but I mean, I assume you're on, away from Mali, so you haven't got 200,000 people or 1,700 people in your square kilometres.
No, there's very few.
There's very few. Everyone would know who could possibly have stolen from you. So it doesn't pay to steal from people in those sorts of environments if you work there, for argument's sake.
I feel like, I've got visions of them shutting down the island because I lost my phone. I mean, clearly that wouldn't happen. They just go, shut up, idiot. Did not. There's no evidence of it.
I don't think they would.
Shut up, idiot.
Yeah. So, are you going to sentence anyone from the Maldives? How do you feel about it? Do you want to? I feel like they should just be put with Malta. Malta sticks out for me
with the
as another terribly corrupt place. Yes, the stories that you've brought to us from Malta. Yep.
Also, a fair whack of South America.
Oh well, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, I think I steered clear of the corruption stories in South America.
Yeah, well, we don't too much trouble.
On the main part. There was the cartel one, but other than that,
I know, but, poor old Carla nearly had a heart attack.
I think that she did, actually. Gosh. I think the Maldives has a case of bipolar going on, where there's the beautiful, relaxing, resorty type things and then the corruption and whatnot. So maybe they just need a little bit of lithium
to calm them.
Just to calm them down and average it out across, so get rid of the highs and the lows.
Lithium batteries. No, I wasn't thinking. I was lithium. Oh, yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, it's the same lithium, just in a different application.
Where'd you get that from, Paul?
Not a chemist.
Yeah, just take
Not from Trial by Wine. Not from Trial by Wine at gmail.com.
You don't get the lithium out of the battery to take. Just to be clear on that.
Yeah.
Licking the battery? I feel really calm now.
Don't be doing that to help with your bipolar. It's not going to work. Because it's interesting because there's so much, there's new islands being built all the time and or constructed all the time so they can put new resorts on. And so there's obviously this massive pull for money, which would, be a very attractive thing, like a honey to a bee for corrupt people. But it's probably a shame because if you, like before we went, we were Googling or YouTubing travel blogs. And, people were saying if you go and stay on the island or stay with the locals, it's much, much cheaper, blah, blah, blah. And of course it is. But, it's another one of those examples where there's huge money
very different
somewhere.
Experience, I would think.
But the money doesn't go to the locals. It's like Gina Reinhardt and her mining, but from a tourism perspective.
You're only allowed to say that because Swanee's not here. She gets a bit defensive about Ms. Reinhardt. Well, she does live in WA. She's worried about the Reinhardt Mafia, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Game on, Mole. I love the bloke who painted her.
When you did Port Hedland, right? And I don't mean like Debbie does Dallas. I mean, when you did a story about Port Hedland.
Clarky does Port Hedland.
I cut it out of the edit because she seemed very upset with me when I suggested that Gina Reinhardt, as a single individual and her company that gets all of this money out of minerals that are part of Australia's resources that go to individuals, perhaps she could put more money into the infrastructure of Port Hedland for the people who live there.
Oh, 100%.
And Swanee was like, and I think I said it very simplistically, saying she should give more to charity. And Swanee said, but she does. She gives millions. I looked it up afterwards. Yeah. She gives like 10 million to some sport club, like a netball team or something.
She pulled the funding for the Australian netball team because...
Oh, that was what I was looking at the time.
Yeah. So she pulled it a couple of years ago because they came out and said something that she didn't like. So she just went, fuck yeah.
Yeah,
she's not generous at all. She's
so yes, I'm annoyed that later I looked it up and I thought I wish I'd left that in because I was actually quite right because it was in sentencing and I wanted to sentence Gina Reinhardt and I very much got the look that I wasn't allowed to say that. But then we don't live in WA and so we don't have the...
No, but
we don't live around people with mining backgrounds and stuff. But maybe that's it. I don't know.
We have, and I've worked in the steel industry. I kind of think that... it comes back to government. So, the iron ore is a national treasure, so to speak. And because you're the one digging it up, you shouldn't be getting, you shouldn't be the one solely profiteering from it. Now, don't get me wrong, we get a lot of money as a country from mining taxes, but she's one very wealthy woman who has made an awful lot of money on the back of that, and it just seems a little bit like what's going on in Mali where there's
and there are people who do the same but actually then have huge philanthropic programs. And I think that's the difference.
And there are people who have less than that. Like Sydney Meyer's got the Meyer Foundation and there's a Pratt Foundation and there's a lot of people who've
done well and give back, but not Algina. So, yes, correct. I'm not unhappy about that painting either. I thought it was perfect.
I loved it. And I love that she didn't love it.
Did you see, how Prince Charles, someone painted him in this, very red, I don't even know how to describe the red thing.
Yeah.
Someone had taken the face from the Gina Reinhardt painting and put it on that, and it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. That was perfect. Take that, Gina. Sorry, go back to Mali.
Yes, right, back to Mali. So a little bit of lithium, I think, would go nicely. And what I guess the point I was trying to make is that, there are people who actually live there. It's their home and they're living in poverty. YouTubers are saying you should go and stay there because it's a whole lot cheaper. Of course it is. But why are those people not living, why are they not well off? And it's the same everywhere, I guess, where there's one decent big chunk of income for the government. It doesn't go to the people. What about you?
I think it's hard sometimes when you're talking we're not talking about individuals, we're talking about a system or a country in a state, in this situation rather, to do sentencing, you know what I mean? It all comes back down to there's got to be some kind of reform in all political systems because I don't know about you and I'm sure that for hundreds of years people have felt this way, but it gets to a point where you're just like you're supposed to exist to service the people and you shouldn't be there if you don't. And there needs to be increased mechanisms, I think, for people to say, I have a vote of no confidence for this party, this president, this prime minister, whoever it is, who has got to a point, and that could be triggered by the judicial system in the case of Mali, where it's really unsafe to be trying to prosecute someone that they don't want prosecuted. Or, you know, in our own country, when we had prime ministers who shouldn't have been prime ministers, you sit there feeling very powerless, thinking, how is Tony Abbott or how is Scott Morrison still in the chair? Or in the UK, Boris Johnson, or in America, Donald Trump, when you can see these people who are not doing what the populace requires, and it's not just one person who can see it, like there's a lot of people see it. And the problem is when we go through this election cycle of every 4 years or whatever that period is, it's what's popular at the time of the election. But then any shit can happen for 4 more years. And then we're going to focus on the election. That the party is supposed to, I know, chuck them out, but then it's all about being in power and servicing yourself. And there's got to be some way for us to have better checks and balances on politicians so they're not just about serving themselves.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I guess the hard thing is where there's poverty and something like the Maldives has with tourism, or, you know, whatever that looks like.
But it's like mining, right? I mean, I know we haven't nailed it because we just discussed how we hadn't nailed it, but think about the amount of tax that is taken out of mining and put into the Australian economy. Same thing, right? Where's the tax being taken out of tourism to be put back into the economy?
Well, yeah, but so that's right. So I think the thing is for us in Australia, we're one of the wealthiest nations per capita. You know, we're very lucky. Whereas if you're in any number of these countries that we visited where the average person on the street is poor, if not living in poverty, 100% by our standards. But that's what I mean. So poor by our standards or living in poverty, like actually living in poverty.
Much worse than we can even imagine standards.
Yeah. And then you've got all of these people fighting over money who are supposed to be looking after the people.
That's the point. Where's the means? And I don't mean like a coup or a military coup or all those sorts of things, but there should be some checks and balances that says, I don't know, whether it's a poll or so every 6 months. If you're not hitting your KPIs, we'll call an early election, or, you know.
But, well, the only thing about that, though, too, I think is you need stability. Yeah, and so political stability for me is the key to doing that, as long as it's not corrupt.
I think you need to look at Singapore. Singapore's got a pretty good model, and I don't know if they're corrupt or not, but they seem to be very clean and they look after their people. So maybe there's a learning in that for all of us.
Yeah, I think a lot of Europe seems to be quite good too. You know, Scandinavian countries and
certainly the Scandinavian countries. Yes, I agree with that. The really, really cold, snowy ones do very well. Yes. All right. Well, when you said Maldives, I was hoping for a bit more of the beach hut, sand, tourist eaten by a nurse shark. You know,
it was hard to find any of that.
Well, because that's how idyllic it is for tourism. So, yes, we'll go there. Just close your eyes and don't worry about decoration.
If they're not talking about the locals' murders, maybe people go missing all the time as tourists. They just don't report on it. They hide the stats.
I would feel that from a tourist perspective it would be a bit more public because there'll be people back home looking for them.
Internationally, it would be a bit of outrage.
Yeah. And that's probably the only reason they get away with it locally is that the outrage is quashed. And that I think point that was made in the last one, it was just like, you know, they're dead and that's it, and no one cares except for the grieving families. And there's no Twitter formerly Twitter.
Yeah, no X-Storm
outrage. Yeah, X-Storm. All right. Well, good story. And as we say every week, miss you already.
Ciao.
Thanks for listening to Trial by Wine. You can contact us at trialbywine@gmail.com. Please rate, review and subscribe to Trial by Wine on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support us, you can become a patron at www.patreon.com, Trial by Wine, or visit our website www.trialbywine.com to donate to us. Your support will help us cover many more cases and apply wacky sentences. We really appreciate you listening and hope you tell everyone about us. Our cover art is by John Christo and music is by Beauchamp from pixabay.com.